Hi, this is a foreigner in the Philippines. Well, we're all up in arms, aren't we? We're all worried about this AdSense and advertisers pulling out of YouTube. It's not quite what it seems, I don't think. I don't see this as a whole lot different from any coal miners' strike or Docklands strike or any other strike. It's a withdrawal of money, a revenue from a company that is not behaving as everybody thinks it should. So Google is very powerful. Obviously, it owns practically everything, probably including you and me. It's not beholden to anyone because it is so powerful. But other companies have been in that all-powerful situation before, and they've abused their ethical code. They have behaved badly, and eventually somebody, probably on his kitchen room, on his dining room table, comes up with an answer that nobody ever thought of, and that's quite possibly what will happen here. You remember one time there was no Facebook. Can you imagine that? There was no Facebook? It doesn't seem possible, does it? So, how was Facebook invented? How was it created? By a couple of college kids, wasn't it? And what about computers? I can remember years and years ago getting a computer that was little more than a word processor, and I did my bills on it for the business I had at the time. It didn't seem like it was going to be a worldwide phenomenon then, and people actually thought that I was a bit funny for having one. So, let's settle down and try to look at some of the sources of what's being said. Now, the New York Times is pointing out that the massive amounts of revenue that are being generated overall through advertising, which is nothing more than a bunch of lies anyway, because what do? Do we really believe that a particular toothpaste will get our teeth whiter than another? Do we really believe all of that stuff about hair, about shampoo, about washing powders? Do we really think that when Walmart goes out and gets its own brand of a generic kind of, say, soap powder, cornflakes, do we believe that they go to their own factory to have it done? No, they don't. They go to a factory that is producing Kellogg's cornflakes, and they say, this is what we want. And how do we get it? Well, we're so big that we can make you do what we want, and that's exactly what they do. So there may be a very slight difference in the cornflakes that you get from, say, Walmart. It won't be quite like Kellogg's, but it won't be far short, and it will have been made probably in the same factory, and that goes overall, I think, over most of these products that you can get, which have their own Safeways, I don't know, Costco, any of these big powerful companies that can go to a manufacturer and say, this is what we want, not can we have. Okay, so Google is now in this very powerful position. Let me point out a couple of other situations where companies have been in a very powerful situation. Remember at one time, bands, musicians had to grovel at the feet of an A&R man. Well, maybe you don't know about A&R men, but I do. And you had to go and grovel at their feet, and you had to offer them something that they would accept. Now, did that automatically mean that you would be given a great deal? No, it didn't, actually. The big recording companies were notorious for cheating their people, and there were men who were very good at seeing through the books, seeing through returns, and thinking in terms of figures. And they would go in and under the full transparency, full disclosure laws, they would be able to go in and look at all of the returns on a particular artist. And what did they find? Well, it would be enough for an artist who was very popular to hire this guy, these guys, at a great rate, pay a lot of money, and tell them to go in and look at my returns for the last 5 years, or however many, 2 years, 1 year, and have a look at what I may be owed. And they would find that they were owed millions of dollars in many, many cases. So much so that it was well worth paying these figure snoops to go in and do their detective work, because they would be able to see how the person was being cheated. Of course, they weren't being cheated. It was just an oversight. Well, heavens, was that really happening? Well, gosh almighty, let's just put it right. Yeah, right, we believe that, don't we? So, what I think will happen is there's going to be a big mess up. A lot of people are going to be upset. Some people are going to lose money. For instance, one of the things that Google is being accused of is on hate. It's supposed to be monitoring, but they refuse to censor too much. That's one of the things. They refuse to censor hate videos. So you've got jihadist groups, ISIS. You've got these people who are creeping in, and they're monetized. Their videos are monetized. So they're bringing in money. How are they bringing in money? Well, they're being advertised on. That's how they're doing. Just had a little glitch there, and I was using a laptop with some of the information that I thought would be great to have at hand, and I called my warrior princess over to have a look at the computers so that I can continue talking. Are we back on resuming Windows?
Yeah, thank you so much for the chocolate. Code name Sir Ma'am Bean. So delicious.
Mrs. Bean. Mr. and Mrs. Bean.
Mr. and Mrs. Bean. So
That's
delicious.
Their code.
Look, I still can feel the sweetness in my throat.
Can you get off my video?
Wait.
Right, so what you have to understand and appreciate is the incredible sums of money that are being generated by advertising. I don't know why we can't just all have cheaper stuff, but I'm looking here. It says that the New York Times reports, I can't see where it's gone now. Let me see. The New York Times said that companies like AT&T, is it AT&T? Right, here we are. In 2015, AT&T was one of the third biggest spenders, not the biggest spender, the third biggest spender. And what did it actually generate? What did it generate across all media? $3.3 billion. $3.3 billion. Can you imagine this? Can you imagine the kind of money that Google is actually generating? This is just one advertiser. So imagine, not everybody is going to withdraw. Not everybody's going to do that. There are going to be others that may say, well, let's look at this in a positive light. If the others are not advertising and we decide to, then we're going to gain. How would that equate on a grassroots level? Well, just imagine that when anybody goes on strike, then then the company that's involved will find other ways to keep delivering their product. And how do they do that? Well, they get bootleggers to come in and do the same job, probably for a little bit less. Who knows? It will happen that Google will somehow find a way. In England, when they had a coal miners' strike, couldn't do without coal at that time. We're talking about a long time ago. It must be, if I can dimly remember it. But what did they do? They had a coal miners' strike, they had bootleggers, they had blacklegs come in, and they would do the same job. And they did it because they wanted to feed their families. They had a fireman's strike. What did they do? Did they stop putting out fires? No, they took the army out and they brought out the green, what was it? The green, not the green gremlins, something like that. The Green Maidens, or somebody will correct me and tell me the right one. But they brought out the old fire trucks that were made for emergency during major catastrophes. And they still kept putting out people's fires. So they found ways around it. And Google are going to find ways around it right now. They'll do behind the scenes, I think. They'll do behind the scenes deals. People will get some breaks. People will, who don't give a crap about whether it's a jihadist that is gaining them likes and selling their product. They won't care about that at all. They will do business as usual. Guess who that was?
It's so delicious.
So, how is this going to affect people like me, people like you, if you're watching this to check out another viewpoint? Philippine Journey has put up a vlog on this. No doubt everybody else will. They'll all have their little say on this, and they'll all give their viewpoint. Well, what I've tried to do is I've tried to go to what would be considered a reliable source, and that is something that is not just agreeable, but trying to be analytical about what is happening. So let me just read to you one of the analysis that is given on this particular page. And so what's the particular page? It is the A register, biting the hand that feeds it. So in other words, it doesn't give a crap, it'll just tell the truth. Wouldn't that be lovely? Why the Agencies Will Come Crawling Back is the title. And there's a cartoon of a man who's doing this. So it says, Andrew Orlowski. Analysis. Several US-based advertisers have now suspended their advertising with YouTube, following over 200 pullouts in the UK and Europe. Google had run big brand advertising on hate videos, including jihadist groups. Johnson & Johnson, Verizon, AT&T are the latest to hit pause. Not stop, pull out, just pause. They're going to be watching. So, or withdraw ad budgets from YouTube altogether. Now, AT&T is one of the top 5 advertisers in the US. The New York Times notes in 2015 it was the 3rd biggest spender with $3.3 billion across all media, including Ad Age. Google has said sorry and promised to conjure up a few new tools. What Google hasn't said and what it hasn't promised is far more revealing. Now, for those who consider that they've been defrauded by being put on what would be ethically opposed sites, in other words, if you're advertising baby powder, you don't really want that to be on while somebody's beheading someone or doing some other little inconsequential thing like that, do you? You don't want to have hate things where they're saying blacks are this or blacks are that, or Chinese are that and Chinese are this, and all of that kind of thing that you're just not allowed to say. And yet it's being said. So, this is what is happening. They're not going to give them their money back. So if you now find that your product, which you're spending, in this case we're looking at millions and millions of dollars, and you go and say, listen, that wasn't our idea at all. How come we didn't get any information about this? How come we didn't have any say? Well, this is what I think. They had the say, and they knew what was happening. And now they're going in and saying, oh, no, now everybody's pulling out. Well, we didn't want our baby powder or whatever it is, or cream conditioner, to be on a jihadist or an ISIS or a, whatever, I don't know, killing animals site. We didn't want that. But I bet that all of these companies monitor very, very carefully what is happening on their advertising. Can you imagine for a minute that a huge company would spend $3.3 billion and not know what was happening with their advertising? Well, I don't know, maybe I'm more suspicious, but I kind of think that they knew. But they said, hey, let's keep quiet. Look at all the likes. Look at the advertising. Look at what we're selling. Look at the figures. We're doing okay. Let's just wait and see what happens. And then somebody gets up and says, well, this is not right, this is not ethical, this is not business, and shouldn't be doing this. And now it creeps into the limelight, and it creeps onto the media, and some people are saying, well, this is not terribly ethical, is it? And then somebody deems that, wait a minute, rather than this creating a good thing for us, this may well turn and bite us in the butt. So let's just pause for a minute. So maybe I'm just down on business as usual, and I don't feel that any of these big businesses are terribly ethical. You know, you think about the politicians. Very recently, a politician in America actually got up and, with tears in his eyes, probably not, I'm exaggerating, okay, well, with tears in his eyes, he said, how can we do what we do on only $174,000 a year? Life is just too hard. How could he budget on that? Well, you know, my thought at the time was, why doesn't he have a chat with a single parent of maybe 2 children who's doing 2 jobs, one at, say, I don't know, at McDonald's for $8.50 or whatever the minimum wage is that politicians have managed to fine-tune for the rest of us. And if he has a chat with her, she will explain to him how you do it. It's called deprivation. You know, you can't have steak, you'll have to have beef burger. And if you can't afford beef burger more than once a week, guess what? You'll have to do without. And you'll have to learn to like the taste of baked beans on toast or some other thing that will allow you to budget on what you earn. So, did he get his raise over 174? I don't know. I'm living somewhere else now, so I don't know about that. But I know that it just seemed a colossal cheat that anybody would think that. Look what happened when the meltdown of the economy happened. And the banks, who certainly had their big hand in what happened, who refused to work with people who were in trouble and losing their home, who had families who were going to be on the street, Would they work with them and give them a more realistic mortgage because there was a meltdown? No, they didn't do that. They said, sorry, you'll have to get out. And they sold their house on the courtroom steps for a fraction of what they could have negotiated in new mortgages for those families that could have retained their home. Now, I know I'm going to get lots of people who are going to explain the absolute technicalities of all of this, but in essence, I think I have the spirit of what actually happened, right? It was a planned thing, and it was a big change, and the banks who had done these incredible inefficiencies, well, they had to make do with millions of dollars in golden handshakes, and that was widespread when the new president at that time, when he called for, I think it was the Ford CEO, talking about how can we get the economy going again, there's so much waste, can you come up and see me? And what does the CEO do? He gets on something like a private Ford-owned 747 just on his little self and goes up to see the president at some colossal amount of money. So, I don't think that I'm inclined to agree with what this article has said, that it's not going to be forever. So, am I worried about whether my few dollars that I earn a month, which I've never actually received, by the way, because Google have been too busy to make sure that I get my PIN number, and you need a PIN number in order to be able to claim the money that you earn. The princely sum of a few dollars for doing what is almost a 24/7. That for Beth and I, we are at work 24/7, right? In typical day today, we were up at 6. We went to see a lady who needs help with cancer. She can't make it on her own. She's managed to have, I think, three chemo sessions, and she's supposed to have 10, and so she's asking for help. We went there, then we took materials to the site of the secret house in the mountains, which we're helping to fund, courtesy of our real heroes, who are the subscribers who send us and trust money to us to make sure that the people who are less fortunate will get some help. We went there, and suffice to say that we got home at about 8:30 tonight. And what is the time right now? Well, actually we must have got home about 7, because the time right now is 8:45. And what am I doing? I'm working. I'm doing a video. And Beth is relaxing. She probably will watch a little television before she crashes and goes to bed. And I will do maybe another couple of videos. So that's what most of the people that are actually doing the work on YouTube, putting up the videos that are worthwhile enough to have these advertisers do it. I mean, little old me and Beth might have an AT&T on our channel. Little me and her will produce some revenue for a big company like AT&T or any of the other big companies. I don't know, Walmart or the power company. They'll go to little me or little other you, and they will use us in order to generate income or revenue on a colossal scale. So that's not a complaint. We do what we do, and the fact that we have never earned any money so far from YouTube, because they haven't they've neglected to send us a PIN number, and you need a PIN number to collect your money, and we haven't had one. Now we've sent again, and finally they've said, oh, well, you have to fill out this form, and we filled out that form and sent it, and now they've said we'll get back to you. Not sure quite what that ever means, but we'll hope that they will eventually send us a PIN number, and then we will be able to withdraw the money that we've earned over the last, I think it's about 4 months now that we've been going. That is really unimportant to us, and this really goes on this segues on from all of the will they, won't they, is it coming back, is it not coming back. It goes on from that, and it is more about declaring what our interest is in running such a channel as this. And our interest became very clear very early on, and despite what many jaded people, the trolls who have done their bit in ruining the situation of YouTube, and how all of the hate stuff is rife, they may not believe that we've never actually taken any money out, and we've done what we do irrespective of receiving any money, which, as I said, we haven't done. So what have we done? We've told the stories of people who are less fortunate than someone who is looking at this video right now, and in doing that, in some cases, a lot of cases, no, and in some cases, enough cases, someone said, I'm touched by this, I'm going to help. And then in doing that, in helping, they've entrusted us with the task of getting that help to that person. And this almost brings us full circle to talking about the difference between what used to be the way that business was done on a handshake, where trust was very, very important, to the way that big business operates now. And when I was talking to Larry Malley, we were talking there about how what he has done in the last few years, he has treated thousands, I mean thousands of kids, children, with hair lip, cleft palate. Now, whether you know it or not, everybody knows what a hair lip looks like, because usually the surgery that was prevalent then was pretty basic, and all that they did was they joined it, and there was an ugly scar, and the two lines didn't even meet. Now the surgeons that Larry uses are experts, they're artists, and they use special equipment, they use special sutures for the joint, and they get a beautiful job. The cleft palate, whether you know it, is that there's no roof in the mouth, and they can, if you looked at the Visio of the cleft palate surgery that we did when we were up meeting Larry, you'll see that actually they can join that up, give a roof to the mouth, and then that child will be able to speak properly. They'll be able to speak properly. Of course, it will require that there's going to be some training, and maybe that training will not come through, but in time, maybe it will. So, we were talking about that, and we were talking about the fact that big business can come in, and they can do a lot of bragging, and do 30 kids, and yet get grants of a lot of money. Larry is coming in, and he's got his spies out all over, finding these unfortunate children and bringing them in, and he has a whole treatment, pre-op treatment that needs to be done. The kids can't have any worms, they can't have any parasites, That's really vital because it can kill the child when they're being operated on. He has a plan that will bypass that, and he's doing his bit. Is he living rich? I don't think so. He's an ex-cop of 32 years. I think New York police, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, he's served his time doing that kind of a job, and now he's following his heart and he does a mission. And what he's finding is that big business is out there doing big business, even with something as sad as a child with a hair lip and a cleft palate. So I know that there are, as always, generalities do not work 100%. That it's just not possible. Absolutes are not possible. Nothing is absolute, because in a universe that is ever changing, it's not possible. But it's now a case of wait and see. And do we believe that the big companies knew nothing and suddenly they become ethical and said, no, we don't want our ads on jihadists? Well, maybe that is. Maybe it's just me. But just watch what's happened. And there'll be a lot of talk, there'll be a lot of posturing, there'll be a lot of self-righteous indignation, and then they'll do a deal. And will Google do a deal? They'll do a deal. And will it cost them any money? Nothing they can't afford. Will it cost the advertisers any money? Nothing they can't afford. Now, who will pay? Well, my thinking is that it won't be the big guys at the top. They'll still live in their 20,000 square foot houses. They will still do what they do. Am I a socialist? I don't know what I am. I might be an aspidestra. I don't think in terms of being classified in any or put in any box. I have my thoughts and I voice them, and sometimes they're right. I've been terribly wrong. That's one of the things of trying to have a little courage. You have to be willing to be wrong sometimes. But I think in this, soon enough, we will see what will happen. But as far as we are concerned, and as far as those people who have entrusted us with doing some of the great things that we've managed to do, thanks to our subscribers, to those people I say that we are still here. And as we've never taken a penny anyway, what the hell? We'll just keep on doing what we do. Whatever anybody else thinks, we can actually live, if very modestly, on the money that I get every month. We can do it, and we have done it, and we will continue to do it. By the good grace of a few people that have helped us along with some expenses for gas and tried to help us to get our guest house together, they'll continue to help, and we'll continue to get help to those people who are in desperate need. Of that you can rest assured. And we're actually going to be taking Desiree to who is a lady that we've been helping, who if you're a regular, you know about Desiree, and after the hospital and meeting the surgeon that Larry introduced her to, we're now going to be going to Iloilo, which is where Larry is based, and I think that he's going to put us in touch with somebody who may be able to help her. So it's not an operation in her case, so there's none of that stuff that happened with the other girl. This is probably going to be medication, and limitation, damage limitation is probably the name of the game, which we're hoping will eventually lead to a complete recovery. Wouldn't that be nice? So, that's enough prattling on from me. I did feel very strongly about this. I know that there will be people out there who do rely on some of the money because they're earning so much more money than us, but we are only on 5,000, a little, 5.25 subscribers, which is going up all the time. But right now, the money that we make from YouTube, as I say, we haven't been receiving it anyway. Guess it's money in the bank. Okay, well, I'll be back. Foreigner in the Philippines. Thanks for being with me. Bye for now.